There's a single detail in Macbeth that completely changes the story. The witches never lie, not once. Macbeth just hears what he wants to hear. Most people think Macbeth is about fate. 3 witches appear, they predict the future. And from that moment on, everything feels locked in. Like Macbeth is just moving toward something that was always going to happen. He becomes king. He becomes a tyrant. And eventually, he falls. It feels inevitable. Like the tragedy was written the second the witches opened their mouths. But that only works if the witches are actually controlling his destiny, if they're guiding him, manipulating him, or even just telling him what to do. Look closely at what they actually say. They never tell Macbeth to kill Duncan. They never tell him to take the throne. They never give him a plan. They don't even suggest anything. They just state things. You will be king. That's it. And Macbeth's immediate response isn't confusion. It's action. Almost instantly, his mind jumps ahead of reality. He starts imagining murder before anything has even happened, before Duncan has done anything to him, before there's any real obstacle in his way. The idea doesn't come from the witches. It comes from him. And that's the first crack in the story. Because if the witches aren't giving orders, then Macbeth isn't following fate. He's interpreting it. And once you see that, something else starts to stand out. It keeps happening. Again and again, the witches say something technically true, and Macbeth turns it into something else entirely. Take the most famous prophecy. None of woman born shall harm Macbeth. When you hear that, it sounds like protection, like a guarantee. And that's exactly how Macbeth hears it. He doesn't pause. He doesn't question it. He doesn't even try to define what it means. He just accepts the most comforting version of it. I'm safe. I can't be killed. But that's not what was actually said. It's a precise statement, almost legal in its wording. And Shakespeare gives you everything you need to doubt it. You just don't notice it the first time, because Macbeth doesn't. And then there's the second prophecy, that he will not be defeated until Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane. Again, it sounds impossible. A forest, moving. So Macbeth does the same thing. He interprets it in the way that benefits him most. That will never happen. I'm untouchable. But once again, that certainty doesn't come from the witches. It comes from him. Because when the moment finally arrives, the forest does move. Just not literally, not magically. Soldiers cut down branches and carry them as camouflage. The prophecy is fulfilled. Exactly. Technically. And Macbeth is completely unprepared. Because he never questioned the assumption he built around it. And that's the pattern. Every prophecy is true. Every word is accurate. Every outcome matches what was said. But the meaning? That's where everything goes wrong. Macbeth keeps choosing the interpretation that makes him feel powerful, certain, in control. Not because he's stupid, but because it's human. When we're given something ambiguous, we don't just analyze it, we shape it, we bend it toward what we want to believe. And Macbeth wants to believe he's invincible, so he acts like he is. He becomes more reckless, more violent, more detached from reality, not because the witches are pulling strings, but because he thinks the future is already secured. So the witches don't control Macbeth. They don't trap him. They don't force his hand. They just tell the truth. In a way that leaves space for interpretation. And Macbeth fills that space with exactly what he wants to hear. Which means this isn't really a story about fate. It's a story about what happens when someone mistakes possibility for certainty. and builds their entire life around that mistake. It's about the danger of thinking you understand something, when you've only understood the version that benefits you. So that one subtle detail changes everything. The witches never lied. Macbeth just chose the version of the truth that made him feel unstoppable. And that's what killed him.